You guys know how much I love a good shortcut, and this video is all about them. I'm gonna bring you some semi-homemade recipes. If you watch my channel, you know I have mentioned a few times my family's affinity for a certain box meal kit. I like to take a box of Hamburger Helper and add some stuff to it to make a really quick, easy convenience meal. I also have lots of versions of those meals that I can make from scratch using pantry staple ingredients. And what I have discovered is that this Auntie Nono's burger seasoning and a little bit of this cornstarch makes a fantastic dupe for the seasoning packet in some of those Hamburger Helper mix. We're gonna make a version of the cheeseburger mac tonight. I'm gonna show you how I'm doing that. I am browning up 1 pound of ground beef. My beef is cooked through, so I'm gonna add my seasoning mix now, and I made this using 2 tablespoons of the Auntie Nono's burger seasoning and 1 tablespoon of cornstarch. I'm also gonna add a little Auntie Nono's everything seasoning just because. Probably about a teaspoon or so. 1 15-ounce can of tomato sauce. This is the big can. You could add 2 little cans, 2 little 8-ounce cans if you want. 2 cups of milk and 1.5 cups of water. Get the rest of that tomato sauce out too. I'm also going to stir in 1 pound of elbow noodles. That's a 16-ounce box. One of the things I don't like about Hamburger Helper is that 1 box is not enough to feed my family of 5 anymore. I really have to double up on it. This recipe is going to make a lot. It's actually going to produce leftovers as well, which will make my oldest daughter really happy because she likes to take them in for lunch. I'm actually gonna add another cup of water because I can already tell there's not enough water in this. So I want that to come to a simmer, and then I'm going to cover it and let it simmer on low until the pasta is cooked. It usually takes mine about 10 to 12 minutes. My pasta is done. I let mine simmer for 10 minutes on low, and then I just turned the stove off, but I kept the lid on for another 5 minutes and it turned out perfect. And now I am stirring in about 1/2 cup of sour cream and 2 cups or an entire 8-ounce block of shredded cheese. I like to use a sharp cheddar because I feel like the flavor is just so much better. But if you wanted to change up the kind of cheese according to your preference, you certainly could. So as soon as I stir the cheese in, it is ready to eat. Oh, okay, that is good. So much better than the box stuff. You gotta try this. I'm telling you, these seasonings are magic. And if you wanna know how you can get them for 30% off, then stay tuned because Auntie Nono's is sponsoring today's video. You are sitting in my spice cabinet, which has basically been taken over by Auntie Nono's seasoning these days. We all like the everything seasoning, but my husband loves this. We're actually on our 3rd bottle, and I sent some as a gift to my in-laws who were here watching our kids while we were on vacation. They actually make the everything seasoning in 2 different sizes now, so you can purchase a smaller bottle first if you wanted to test it out. You can also purchase them in sets of 3 of the same seasoning, or you can purchase the savory trio, the original savory trio, which is the everything seasoning, the seafood seasoning, and the firecracker seasoning. They just introduced the grilling seasonings. I have used them to season meat like chicken or steaks or fish on the grill, but also I've used them to season vegetables, to season pasta dishes, when I'm making something on the stove like sauteing something, or when I'm roasting something in the oven as well. And they also offer the 3 of these in a trio, or you can buy them separately, or you can buy them in 3 packs. Christmas is coming, and these seasonings make fantastic gifts for everybody, but especially for the people who are hard to buy for or who have everything already, because everybody needs to eat, right? I'm actually here in the store picking up a few items to create baskets with these seasonings. I want to do like a barbecue basket with the grilling seasonings and put some barbecuing items in it. I also really want to do a basket that includes ingredients for a meal that can be made with the seasonings. So there's lots of different ways that you can dress these up to make a really thoughtful, consumable, practical gift, or you can just be a helper to Santa this year and put some in your stockings. Right now, Auntie Nono's is offering a fantastic discount for my viewers, especially if you are thinking about utilizing these as gifts. When you visit the link in the description box, or you go to the website and you use the code MindyGift, you're gonna get 30% off the purchase of any trio or set, like the savory sampler set, or any 3-pack of the 8-ounce bottles. Whether you're thinking of giving the sets as one gift or purchasing multiples of one specific item to split up across several different gifts, you can get a really great discount. Thank you again to Auntie Nono's for sponsoring today's video. Don't forget, when you use the link in the description box below, or you go to the Auntie Nono's website and you use the code at checkout, it's gonna take 30% 30% off your order of trios, sets, and 3-packs. Among my collection of cookbooks, I found this one recently. It's an Oklahoma State Fair contest winners and favorites. It actually dates back to 2002, so it is 20 years old. And there are lots of really interesting recipes in here. You can tell that there were some challenges where they had to use a specific ingredient. Otherwise, I don't know why there are so many recipes that involve Spam in the entree section. But they do have a junior section, meaning that kids would have entered this contest. There's a really interesting shortcut peanut butter blossom cookie recipe that I've wanted to try for a while that I thought we would try today. It uses several different shortcut ingredients, and I've never seen a cookie recipe like this. So let's give it a try. First shortcut ingredient, 2 cups of Bisquick. I mean, it says biscuit baking mix. I assume this is what it's talking about. This recipe doesn't call for any eggs, so I'm guessing that the leavener that's in the biscuit mix is what is going to serve as the leavener for this recipe. Second shortcut ingredient, sweetened condensed milk, 1 can. You want to make sure you get sweetened condensed milk, not evaporated milk. Since there's not really any other sugar in this recipe, this is what is going to sweeten the cookies, I assume. 3/4 of a cup of peanut butter, and I usually use my scale to measure this out. My bowl is too heavy, so I'm gonna have to zero this out and do a negative in order to get to 184 grams, which is, I think, if I've calculated correctly, the equivalent to 3/4 of a cup. Really close, just a little bit more. Okay, that's 190, close enough. You can never have too much peanut butter, right? And then 1 teaspoon of vanilla. Never measure vanilla. I just pour until it seems right. I'm just gonna give this a mix. I'm not gonna get my electric mixer out. Pretty sure it's better where these cookies are concerned to mix it by hand until it starts to form a dough. I feel like it's still too mushy. I don't know, I feel like it needs just a little bit more Bisquick so that it will form more of a cookie dough. So I'm gonna sprinkle just a little bit more in. Okay, that's definitely better. That little sprinkling that I put in, maybe 1/4 cup extra, really helped. Maybe I just didn't measure it really thoroughly the first time. But this is definitely looking more like a cookie dough. So now I'm going to roll these. My husband is outside on the patio, clearly not knowing that I'm filming in here with the leaf blower. Now, all I have to do is roll these into little balls about 1 inch in diameter and put them onto a parchment lined cookie sheet. And I'm gonna bake them at 375. It says to bake them for 6 to 8 minutes, so not very long at all. The children are actually home from school today. We have a distance learning day built into our calendar about once a month, and that day is today. So I think maybe it is time for a little home ec class, and the kids can come and roll out the rest of these cookies for me to pop into the oven. So my family has a really fantastic peanut butter blossom recipe. We actually call them Lazy Susans because they look like those little spinny things that a lot of people have in their kitchens once they're all made up. So I'm kind of curious to see how these turn out. The dough tastes pretty good, but we'll see. Funny thing about this recipe, it was submitted by supposedly a 5-year-old. I don't know, you guys. I don't know if I buy that. Do you think a 5-year-old came up with this recipe? I'm thinking somebody's grandma wanted a blue ribbon. Maybe I shouldn't have added the extra Bisquick because these are not spreading. They've been in for 6 minutes and they're not really spreading very much. Personally, I feel like the bake time for these was way off for me. It's not 6 to 8 minutes. It took ours more like 10 to 12 and they didn't spread very much. Of course, once you put the little Hershey's Kiss on them after they come out of the oven, they look just fine. So we got wise with the second batch we put in the oven and we kind of smushed them down a little bit, almost kind of like thumbprints before we put them in the oven so that they would spread out a little bit. My dad makes absolutely delicious chili, and it's a little bit different than other chilies I've tasted. It has kind of a secret slash not so secret ingredient in it. But when I was in high school and I mentioned to my friends that my dad was making chili for dinner, a lot of my friends would happen to be at the house whenever dinner time arrived. It has some of your basics like ground meat. My dad actually liked to use ground turkey in his chili, beans, tomato products, chili powder, seasonings, a little bit of cumin in his. But the secret to my dad's chili is that he would take a few links of smoked sausage, pulse it in the food processor, and add that to the chili, and that was really what seasoned the chili. I grew up eating this chili over rice because the way my dad made it, it was almost a little bit soupy, so the rice would actually soak up some of the extra liquid in the recipe. I will actually type out the way I make my dad's chili and leave it in the description box below. The semi-homemade thing that I am making to go along with this dinner is actually how I'm going to dress up these 2 boxes of Jiffy cornbread to have along with our chili tonight. In my bowl, I have 2 eggs, and I'm going to add to that 1 can of cream style corn, 1 can of diced green chilies, 1 4-ounce can. This is the small can. This recipe is coming from a website called keytomylime.com. I'll leave a link to the description box below. I am making a few changes. That one calls for 1 fresh jalapeno. I actually just got a 4-ounce can of diced jalapenos, and I'm probably just gonna use about half of that. 3 tablespoons of butter melted, about ½ a cup or so of sour cream, and also about 1 cup of shredded cheddar cheese. And I'm going to mix that all together. I'm gonna add just a little bit of salt also. The recipe that I read said to stir in 2 boxes of Jiffy cornbread mix. You wanna stir the wet ingredients together first, mix them together first, and then add the cornbread mix, and just stir it until it is incorporated. You wanna be sure not to over mix it. And then I'm gonna pour it into a 9x13 casserole dish. I went ahead and just lined mine with parchment paper. The original recipe says to make it in an 8x8, but it would have taken about 45 minutes to bake. So I figure if I make it in a bigger dish and make it just a little bit of a shorter cornbread, that it would cook a little bit quicker. 2 things about the cornbread. First of all, I baked mine at 375 in a 9x13 for really all of 40 minutes. So if I was going to put that recipe in an 8x8, like I was actually thinking as I was putting it in the casserole dish that I just don't think it would fit, or it would take a lot longer than 40 to 45 minutes to cook through. I don't know, maybe not, but I am very content with the way it turned out. It was delicious. It is not like a big fluffy, like crumbly cornbread like you would crumble into your chili, but it's really flavorful. And I would definitely make it again. And maybe even to go along with something a little more bland, like maybe just a beans and rice or a red beans and rice style meal. But it was really good with the chili, and I'm pretty pleased with the way it turned out. Today, I am whipping up some easy, cheesy firecrackers. My inspiration for this is coming from the Alabama firecrackers that use the saltines and the ranch seasoning and the red pepper flakes. But for this recipe, I'm actually using 3 boxes of cheese crackers, 1 standard box of the regular Cheez-Its, 1 standard box of the white cheddar Cheez-Its, and 1 box of Ritz Bits cheese crackers. I added a tablespoon of Auntie Nono's everything seasoning and a tablespoon of the firecracker seasoning to 1 cup of vegetable oil. I stirred that together really well, and then I poured it over the crackers, which I had put into a 2-gallon, that's a large Ziploc bag. I also added a little bit of red pepper flake. You could leave that out if you don't want the extra kick. But the cool thing about these crackers is that you don't have to bake them, you don't have to cook them, you just shake them up inside the bag and turn the bag over gently, give them a little shake. You let them stay on the counter, maybe once an hour you come back and give it a little shake, and then after a few hours you can remove them to an airtight container and they are finished. It's a really easy, no-bake snack that you can make. You can maybe give this away as gifts, maybe along with some of the Auntie Nono's seasonings, but my kids have been asking me to make these for days, so they're gonna be super happy when they come home and they are finally made up. So my opinion on the spicy crackers is that I really like the spice. It's definitely got a kick, so if you don't like spicy things, probably not for you, but they're just a tad salty for me, so I would probably use the same amount of the firecracker seasoning, but I'd use just a teaspoon of the Auntie Nono's everything seasoning, and then add a teaspoon of onion powder and a teaspoon of garlic powder. I mean, I think they're definitely kind of like a Dots pretzel. They're definitely kind of in that vein, just a little bit spicier than that. So I guess it just depends on how salty you like it. Thank you again to Auntie Nono's for sponsoring today's video. Don't forget, when you use the link in the description box below, or you go to the Auntie Nono's website and you use the code MindyGift at checkout, it's gonna take 30% off your order of trios, sets, and 3-packs.